Hello and welcome to another class in our Zero to Hero 40-day yoga challenge. Thinking about things that you might need today. It's a pretty simple class. Simple doesn't always mean easy, but we won't really need too much. If you have a block, it might come in handy, but not necessary. Let's go ahead and get started in our centering posture. I was thinking I might not say anything, but I thought, why not talk about stuff? We're in a class, but it's on YouTube, so way better. I was just going to let everybody know because, not because I feel I need to confess, but remember I told you guys about my husband's birthday week, right? So today is day one in the last quite a few days that I did not have cake for breakfast. So I just wanted to throw this in here. Generally, when we do 40-day sadhana or 40-day challenges in yoga, it's good to not have any alcohol or refined foods or sugar, that kind of thing, unless they're natural occurring sugars. My husband's birthday happened to be right smack in the middle of our 40-day challenge. So for me, I wanted to celebrate that with cake, and it was a really special cake this year. That's another story for another time. But now that I'm detoxing, I just thought this might be interesting for others who are going through this ever in their life, where they're like, I'm on the wagon again, or at least I'm going to try and locate the wagon today. But what I do is, if anyone is interested, so what I'm doing is sort of like a little bit of a taper. Like I'm cutting out all the ick, but still eating quite a bit today. But it's just all like natural food. So extra vegetables, extra water, like allowing myself that still feeling of like what's the word? The debauchery kind of thing. But instead of vodka, it's like water, right? That kind of a feeling. And then I tend to taper back to the epitome of health. I never try to do it in one day, like instantly. For some people that actually works better, but I like to kind of pre-cleanse. It's a nicer, gentler way. So for me, one of the ways I'm cleansing is because our skin is our largest organ. So today I'm not wearing any makeup, so you're just getting the au naturel. And I'm washing my face with a gentle soap like a couple times a day, showering a little bit extra. I'm going to sweat a little bit extra today too. So I'm going to go for a walk actually after our yoga practice just to get the lymphatic system going, glandular system going, cleaning everything out, kidneys, that kind of thing. Just thought I'd throw that in there in case anyone else is experiencing this. I've done this many, many times on the wagon, off the wagon, and I found this is the most gentle and most successful way of getting back onto the wagon. Anyway, let's get started in centering. I hope that was helpful for someone at least. Whatever your posture is, maybe it's Balasana, child's pose, maybe it's something different, seated, Sukhasana, whatever your first pose is, taking a few moments to get settled in. I'm just taking a couple deep breaths, and especially on the exhales, melting into it. So feeling heavy, feeling grounded, connecting with the earth. So if you're in Balasana, child's pose, feel that space on the forehead that connects with the earth. We're creating that neurological connection with your body and the earth, that pressure point in the forehead that signals to your body you're about to do your practice, something amazing for you. Taking a moment here. And taking the next few moments to set an intention for your practice. For me personally, it's going to be all about cleansing today. It might be something that's strength related for you today. We have a great strength practice coming up today. Whatever that is for you, taking a moment to really connect with it. Once you've established your intention for your practice today, taking a few slow, deep breaths through the nose, full and complete, expansive breaths. Taking all the time you need to fully and completely finish up those 3 deep breaths. When you're ready, heading up and back to that first downward facing dog. Again, take your time, double check your hands are just slightly wider than shoulders width apart. And maybe walking it out a little. Maybe shifting hips side to side. And then send your feet forward all the way to the top of your mat, landing with the feet parallel. And just let the head hang, so decompressing the spine. Feeling that nice stretch in the backs of the legs. And then slowly ragdoll one vertebra at a time. All the way up to standing. And we'll get warmed up today with just a few sun salutations. We'll do sun sal A to get started. We'll go nice and slow too. So feet together, heels and toes together. Standing up nice and tall, shoulders back, fingertips reaching for the earth, crown of the head reaching for the sky. On an inhale, we'll raise the arms way up high. Just taking a moment here. When you hang out for a few moments with your arms up, it's a really great way to warm up those shoulders. Remembering if you do need that extra space, feel free to step those arms apart. If you're looking for the extra challenge, press the palms together. One more inhale to lengthen. On the exhale, gliding forward, use the glutes. All the way down and releasing at the end. Hanging out here for just a couple moments, feeling that stretch through the backs of the legs, not too much, gentle. On the inhale, looking up to the horizon for a flat back, long through the spine. And release. Bending the knees, plant the hands, and send the feet back to a strong plank. Scooping the belly in, pushing down into the floor, shoulders away from the ears, even though we're sideways. Make this more about the core than anything else. So maybe lowering the knees first, maybe keeping them straight. Either way, lowering chaturanga hover. If you're not able to hover here for a few moments, then release. Then you need to lower your knees down first, okay? And then we'll inhale for cobra or upward facing dog. I like to start out with cobras. The legs are strong, glutes are activated. Maybe feeling a nice stretch even in the tummy. For some of us, we feel it in the back. For some of us, we feel it in the tummy. For some lucky few, we feel it both places. Shoulders down. And release. Pressing up through your hands and knees. Remember to try not to worm. Keep the back straight. Belly scoops in, pelvic floor pulls up. We head up and back to downward facing dog for a few deep breaths. Slowing it down. And send the feet forward. All the way to the top, inhaling for flat back, long through the neck. And exhale, forward fold. On the inhale, come on all the way up using the glutes. Remember the glutes all the way up, reaching up high. And release back to a tall mountain. Picking up the pace a little. Inhale, arms go up. On the exhale, gliding forward. Inhale for flat back. Exhale down, heading back through plank. And lowering chaturanga. Inhale up, wide open shoulders. Exhale, downward facing dog. Just a few deep breaths here, not quite as long as the last one. Maybe even walking it out again a little bit. It is true, it's nice to find stillness, but if we aren't quite warmed up and we want to feel that extra little length gently, it's still okay to walk things out a little. And send the feet forward, inhaling for flat back. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, glutes all the way up, reaching up high. Exhale to a tall mountain. And again, inhale, arms go up. Exhale, gliding forward. Inhale for flat back. Exhale down, heading back through plank. And lower chaturanga. Inhale up. Exhale, downward dog. From here, we'll take a three-legged down dog. I have a wall in my way. So right leg goes up. And then step your right foot forward. A nice big long stance, preparing for Ashtachandrasana crescent pose. Here we get to do some lunges. So a little bit of a wider stance is nice for balance. I'm going to start our timer now before I even explain what we're doing. Hands can go wherever. If you've got a wall and you want the extra stability, feel free. What we're doing is straightening and bending. That's it. Keep going. While we're straightening and bending, we're trying to get the glutes working. So in order to do that, the quads want to do all the work. Don't let them. Feel like you're pressing that front heel down into the floor just long enough to get that glute activated. Then once you feel, oh, okay, I get it. I get how my glute can work instead of my quads. Then feel free to release the toes. Keep going. Trying to isolate the glute. That's our entire focus. Glute, 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 glute. One of the ways too is I press kind of into the heel more than anything else, especially when I straighten the leg. So I'm straightening, I'm pushing the floor down. So I'm using the whole back of the leg, not the quad. And then I'm pushing down, like I'm almost trying to push the floor away from me. And then every time I bend, I just sort of sink into the heel. And that helps my glute work. Keep going. Your quad will work as well, but we're trying to minimize it. Get the glute working. At the same time, you might feel your back ankle on fire like mine is. If you need a little break, that is no problem. This one, we're doing for a good couple minutes. If you need breaks here and there, totally fine. So this is something that's good to work up to. You don't need to do the whole 2 minutes the first class, right? We've got 40 days to work on this and get stronger. The big thing is use the glute, 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 glute. From here, see, we're done already. How we get out is we head down through lunge. Now you can go either straight to child's pose or to a downward facing dog, okay? If you want extra challenge. So either downward dog or child's pose or back through plank, lowering chaturanga. Inhaling up, exhaling downward dog. And then we'll all meet together in downward facing dog, ready for the other side. Left leg sweeps to the sky for three-legged. And then step it forward, preparing for Ashtachandrasana. I like a wider stance for this specific exercise, just because of balance purposes. I also like to hang on to whatever's beside me. It's not cheating because we're not working on balance right now. We're working on strength. Okay? Here we go. So we bend, trying to target the glute. So if your back is arching, it's not going to activate the glute. It's going to activate the quads. Belly tucks in, tailbone tucks under, pressing down into the heel. So right now my quad is still working. No quad. I'm really trying to go slower. So go at your own pace, pushing down into the floor, getting the back of the leg working. Keep going nice and slow, especially until your glute fires up. And it might sound weird, but it's almost like it's sleeping back there. Like we don't look at it, so it's just sleeping. So now I'm starting to feel it. Sometimes if I push with my back heels up, as you can see, I'm actually right now pushing down into the floor, like I'm trying to push it away. And that's firing up my glute right there. Once it's fired, it's easier for it to take most of the work. Keep going. So glute, 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 glute. That's the only thing we're trying to focus on in this exercise. Get the glutes working. So see here again, my quads are like, I want to do it. No, like a little bit, obviously they have to, but really trying to. Sometimes actually just like, it seems weird, but just like poke it, right? Make sure it's working. My ballet teacher used to do that. She had one very, very sharp index finger, and it would, you never knew if it was going to get you in the butt or in the tummy. Everything must maintain that rock solidness. Otherwise, you get that pokey finger into the tummy or into the glute. We're already almost done. So glute, 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 glute for that last little bit. Working that glute. Last couple nanoseconds. And same thing again. Heading down to a lunge, maybe just straight back to a child's pose or a down dog. That's recommended. Only if you're ready for that extra challenge. Heading back to plank. Lowering chaturanga. Inhaling up. And exhale. Downward facing dog. From here, we'll all meet laying down. Because we can. Is why I face this way because I've got my timer over here. So from here, if you want to use a block, you can. Dynamic bridge. Okay, so we did this a few classes ago. If you want to use the block, placing it between the knees, I'm going to start the timer now. So with the feet parallel, hips go up, and a little bit the knees go in. Hips go down. At your own pace, keep the head looking straight ahead to your ceiling. And keep going. Try to keep equal weight on each foot. And I know for me, this one feels so awkward because it's using all of the muscles that don't usually work very often. One of the things I like to do is just spend an extra couple moments with the hips lifting up, 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 and then slowly release down. Right away back up. And then hold, 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 hold. And then back down. If you need to rest, just hang out. Take a breather and pop back in when you can. We're already about half done. So it goes by faster than we think. Remember, these classes are fairly short, so we're actually like half done the whole class. So when you think about it that way, knowing that this is temporary, that's one of the things that I love to remind myself. In yoga, we often have that inner voice, and often our inner voice tries to sabotage us. But once you change that language, this is temporary, is one of the phrases that my mind repeats often in my life. This is temporary. Whatever it is, No matter how bad it feels, even if it's dynamic bridge, this is temporary. I can handle this. And release. Hug the knees in, just give yourself a moment. Maybe a little rock side to side. Always we get the rest afterwards. From there, you can rock and roll all the way up. And then either head right into child's pose or downward facing dog, or for extra challenge, heading back through plank, lowering chaturanga. Inhaling up and exhale, downward facing dog. From here, lowering all the way to seated once again. And this time, we'll head into yogi sit-ups. So the last time we did glutes and core, we talked about not overworking the stomach, the core muscles, especially if you have recently given birth and or you're not sure if you have a diastasis, that separation. So what I'm going to do is show you a modification. And if you want to do the full yogi sit-ups and you feel confident that your core is ready for that, that's fine. But I'll show you the modified version. So there's two different versions. One is the most modified version of this is just like we did last glutes and core class where we had the hips up on a block. So that's option number one. You can just repeat that one instead of this one. So that's what you can do. You can swap out exercises if you're just not quite there yet, but still keep up. So I love that option. The next level up would be, we're here, palms facing down on the floor. We extend one leg, belly scoops in, pelvic floor pulls up, hold, 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 replace. Other side, hold, belly pulls in, pelvic floor pulls up. It changes the dynamic of the posture. And release. If you want to just watch for 1 sec, I'll show you with my leg closest towards you. So this is me not using my core very much. This is me using pelvic floor, belly pulling in. Okay, basically what happens is when I use my core and my pelvic floor pulls up, my lower back presses to the floor. I'm not trying to push my lower back to the floor. It's what automatically happens when my pelvic floor pulls up, my belly presses down. Okay, so that I'm thinking about the core more than anything else. Okay, so that's a modification. If you want to do the whole yogi sit-ups, then fingers behind the head. Here we go. Whatever variation you're at, we're going to begin. So I'm extending my right leg, right elbow to left knee. I'm inhaling back to center. Exhale other side. Inhale back to center. Keep going. The other thing you can do as well is you can start with one variation and then drop down a gear for a while. Then you can come back up again. So there's lots of different variations. So I'll often start with a more modified variation actually. And as I get warmed up, I think, oh, maybe I can do a little bit more today. So it just depends on where you're at. There's much, much benefit to dropping back to wherever is the healthiest for you. As soon as we lose the integrity of the posture, it makes no sense to continue on with it. Now you're just strengthening muscles in an incorrect form. Keep going as much as available. Again, only if the integrity is still there. If not, take a little break and pop back in when you can. Almost done. And release. Give yourself a moment. Let your belly soften completely. Just a couple deep breaths here. From here, feel little rocks and rolls. So almost all the way up to seated and back. Almost all the way up and back. And then all the way up. And either just wait for a moment or head into downward facing dog. Only if you're looking for that extra challenge. Heading back through plank and lowering chaturanga. Inhaling up and exhale, downward facing dog. Couple deep breaths. From here, lowering all the way to hands and knees and heading into leg extensions. I'll get our timer started. We start on hands and knees. This is one of them there. Pull up the pants for this one. From hands and knees. Let's see if I have enough room back there. I'm starting our timer. So right leg goes back. We're not trying to kick it way up. We're trying to just use the glutes. So not letting the belly sink, but rather pulling the belly in. Returning back through hands and knees. Other side. And back. So keep going at your own pace. Your hips will shift a little in space. We're trying to keep them as isolated as possible, but don't freak out if they are moving. Keep going. Nice and slow. If you want to synchronize the breathing, we inhale to center, just like our yogi sit-ups. Exhale on the extension. That helps us know, hey, I'm going too fast. So exhaling as we extend. Inhale back to center. Exhale, hold, hold, hold. Inhale, keep going. Really trying to target the glutes. So feel the glutes working, squeeze them even. Get them working. They should be shaking a little bit, honestly. Like a little bit of shaking, a little of that kind of vibrating. That sort of in the muscle means it's working hard. And when you're working a muscle that's fatigued a little bit, that's when it's really getting stronger. Not when it's fatigued so much that it's not able to hold the position. That's you've gone to complete fatigue. But a little bit of shaking is just weakness leaving the body. So that's awesome. It's another one of my favorite internal, I'm going to say dialogue, but that's when two people are talking. So in my mind, there wouldn't be dialogue. My internal monologue is shaking is weakness leaving the body. And release. From here, heading into child's pose or downward facing dog, only if you're looking for extra challenge. Heading back through plank, lowering chaturanga, inhaling up, and exhale, downward facing dog. Or child's pose, couple deep breaths. And then lowering once again, all the way to seated, and then laying all the way back for another round of yogi sit-ups. They're one of my favorite ones. I like the yogi sit-ups. If you're like, no, Carla, just no, then that's fine too. Just either wait or now transition back to that scooping the belly in, just like that exercise we did in the last class. Okay, so you can always drop it back a gear, but try to keep moving. Here we go. And begin. One of the things about yoga, it's really, really good for physical fitness, but the truth is it's not really what it's designed to do. So when I started Vernon Yoga, it's story time right in the middle of your yogi sit-ups. So when I started Vern Yoga, the number one phone call I got when a new student would phone, they'd say, "You don't do anything weird, do you? Like hooey or anything?" And I'd be like, "No." And I felt a lot of pressure to just be fitness-based. But the truth is, yoga is not really that fitness-based at all. It is to the point where the yogis believe you need to be in good physical condition in order to meditate. That is the goal. Like if you're supposed to be sitting in hero pose for 2 hours, like that's sort of the goal of yoga. If you're not in really good physical shape, you're not going to be able to sit there. Your mind won't be strong enough to sit there for 2 hours. Our minds in the Western world are barely suitable to sit for 10 seconds without getting bored or just feeling stir crazy. So what we're doing in this exercise, yeah, you're getting a strong core, and that's going to be really good for back injury reduction, which is the point of yoga as well, to take care of your body. But it's also firing up your willpower, your kundalini energy is what it's called. So you're technically going to be more energetic after finishing yoga than when you started. Whereas if you just go to the gym, you're going to feel exhausted at the end. So thinking about that a little bit, because I really feel like all these years I've kind of dishonored yoga a little bit by just focusing only on the fitness. That is a byproduct. That will happen. But thinking about how is this affecting you? How is this changing you? And we're done to be a better person. Letting that belly soften. Again, not to take away from the physical benefits. That is one part of it, but it's just one part of the whole puzzle. Almost rocking all the way up and back. Almost all the way up and back. One more all the way up. Either hold, or if you're looking for that extra challenge, in other words, if you've got some more sillies you need to get out, which I have children, so that's how we word things in my house, you can do a vinyasa here. And just a couple deep breaths in downward facing dog or heading into child's pose, taking a moment. Feeling the strength of earth beneath you. Almost like there's a channel from earth to you. So much happening in earth. There's tectonic plates that are moving. Somewhere in the world there's earthquakes. Somewhere in the world there's volcanoes. That is a lot of power. Seeing if you can tap into just a tiny, tiny fraction of that. And then slowly lowering through hands and knees. This next one, I don't have enough room. I may need to move my mat. This one is for the glutes, but it's super fun. Okay, that was my knee. Okay, so from here, got my little timer. I'm going to flip it to start because this one's a doozy. I saved the best for last. We lift one knee up to the side and back. Other knee up to the side and back. This is like, it's crass, but this is full on your doggy and fire hydrant situation. Okay, so we're trying not to use momentum, but rather just strength. Keep going. For some reason, this one is 10 times harder than the last one, probably because who does this? Honestly, who does this ever other than your dog, right? Who probably has very, very strong external rotators. And keep going. And suddenly I have mad respect for quadrupeds everywhere. Keep going. This is temporary, remember. And we're almost done the whole class. And the home stretch. and you're done. Finding a child's pose. If you're looking for extra challenge, feel free to take a vinyasa. I like to do child's pose after this one specifically because it's a nice stretch in the exact same place. I don't usually feel a stretch in child's pose, but I sure do right now. Couple deep breaths. Last exercise. Can you guess what it is? Yogi sit-ups. One more round. Okay? Remember, anyone who's been to lots of my yoga classes is like, I knew it. So you can downshift. Okay, you can use your block and do the passive variation or do the full one. Up to you. Make sure the integrity is good. And begin. Last exercise of the whole class. Really focusing on only two things. Pelvic floor, pulling up, belly scooping in and up. That's it. Those two things. Pelvic floor and belly. Scooping up and in. Keep going. Taking breaks if you need to. Hop back in when you can. Or before you take a break, try to downshift. See if that will work. We're in the home stretch. And release. Give your tummy a moment. Really soften. Couple deep breaths. And a couple little rocks and rolls. Almost all the way up and back. Almost all the way up and back. Last time. Either just wait or last vinyasa or directly to child's pose or a downward dog. Choose your own adventure. If you're in down dog, it's the last one. And release. Preparing for Shavasana, final resting pose. Finding whatever you need to feel cozy. Laying all the way back. And if your back needs a little extra support today, feel free to keep those knees bent with the feet on the floor. Otherwise, extending the legs, arms along your sides, palms facing up, and closing the eyes. Softening everything. but especially through the neck and the shoulders and all the way down the arms. Letting the fingers softly curl. Softening through the face. Softening around the eyes. And even the muscle between the eyes. And starting to come back, unless you'd like to stay a little longer, in which case feel free to do so. Otherwise, wiggling fingers and toes. Gently roll your head from side to side. Then reaching your arms above head on the floor, give yourself a big stretch, feeling totally refreshed. And bending your knees one at a time. And gently roll over to the right side, taking a moment to pause there as you come back. And slowly start to press yourself all the way up to a comfortable seated position, taking all the time you need. And when you arrive, palms facing up on the knees, inhale, sitting up tall, and exhale, softly close the eyes. Taking those final moments to connect with your intention for your practice today, and knowing that you're one step closer to that wonderful benefit of yoga. Taking an extra moment for someone else who might need that extra thought today. And slowly open the eyes. Namaste, everyone. Thank you so much for joining. Whew, glutes and core. Glutes and core. That's all I can say. Really good work, everyone. If you have any questions, let me know in the comments section and I will reply. Thank you so much for joining and have a really good rest of your day. Namaste.